Shadows of loyalty, the crimson banners of the Solarian Empire, fluttered across the skyline of Varus Prime, a conquered world that had once been beautiful. Now it was just another jewel in Emperor Darius's crown. Knight Commander Theron Voss stood on the command deck of the Imperial cruiser Indomitable, his silver armor gleaming under the harsh lights, watching tactical displays track rebel movements. "The insurgents have taken the Eastern District," reported Lieutenant Freya, her voice tight with concern. "They're led by her." Theron's jaw clenched. No name needed. The rebel known as the Phantom Naomi Blackwell had been a thorn in the Empire's side for 3 years. A former Imperial scientist turned freedom fighter who had become a symbol of resistance across 7 star systems. "Show me," he commanded. The holographic display flickered to surveillance footage. A woman with short auburn hair, moving with precise efficiency, leading a small squad through Imperial defenses like they were made of paper. What she lacked in size, she made up for in speed and tactical brilliance. "She's just one human," Theron said coolly, though even he couldn't deny the grudging respect he felt watching her fight. "Prepare my shuttle. I'll handle this personally." His second-in-command, Kaz Vorden, stepped forward. "Commander, perhaps we should send the Talon Squad instead. The Emperor values results," Theron cut him off. 12 Imperial Knights have failed to capture her. I won't be the 13th. Born to the noble house of Voss, Theron had spent 27 years earning his position through blood and unquestioning loyalty. His pale blue skin marked him as Solarian pure blood, his silver eyes cold as the void between stars. He had never failed in his duty. The descent to Varus Prime was turbulent, the atmosphere choked with smoke from burning buildings. Theron's shuttle landed in what had once been a public square, now a makeshift Imperial command post. Captain Juno greeted him with a hasty salute. "The rebels have barricaded themselves in the planetary archives," she reported. "We believe they're after classified terraforming data." Theron nodded. "Clear your forces from the perimeter. This is now my operation." He approached the archives alone, his twin energy blades humming to life in his hands, one obsidian black, one gleaming white. The symbolic weapons of Solarian justice dot inside the vast repository. Silence reigned. Theron moved like a predator, senses alert to the slightest disturbance. He found 3 rebel soldiers, first dispatched them with efficient, merciful strikes. He was not cruel, merely resolute. "I know why you're here, Phantom," he called out, his voice echoing through the towering shells of data crystals. "The terraforming codes won't help you. The Empire's hold on the outer rim is absolute." "Is that what they tell you, Knight Commander Voss?" The voice came from behind him, confident, unafraid. Theron turned slowly. Naomi Blackwell stood 20 paces away, smaller than he'd expected, but emanating a presence that filled the room. Her combat suit was mismatched salvage, but she wore it like armor. A scar traced her jawline, and her eyes, a startling amber, assessed him with intelligence and defiance. "Nothing is absolute," she continued, "especially not your precious Empire's grip on worlds that don't want you." Theron raised his blades. "Surrender now, and I'll guarantee your fair treatment." A smile touched her lips. Strange. "I was about to offer you the same courtesy." Without warning, she moved faster than any human he'd faced before. Her vibroblade clashed against his energy weapons in a shower of sparks. The battle had begun, and with it, though neither could know it yet, the first chapter of their shared destiny. Battle of Wills 3 months after their first clash on Varus Prime. Theron Voss stood in the Emperor's sanctum aboard the capital ship Eternal Dominion. The vast chamber was designed to intimidate, with its soaring black pillars and the throne that seemed to hover in midair. "You let her escape again." Emperor Darius's voice was soft, yet it cut through the silence like a blade. Theron kept his gaze fixed forward, not meeting the Emperor's eyes, a gesture of deference, though his pride burned. The rebel employed unexpected tactics, Your Eminence. She collapsed the mining facility on Nix 4 rather than face capture. And yet somehow, both she and her team survived while we lost an essential yttrium processing plant. The Emperor rose, his ornate robes flowing like liquid metal. Knight Commander, your record has been impeccable for 15 years. Now this ... woman makes you look like a raw recruit. Theron felt the weight of the court's stares. It won't happen again. No, agreed Darius. It won't. Because you will bring me her head, or I will find someone who can. 2 weeks later, Theron's interceptor dropped out of hyperspace over the jungle moon of Talaris. Intelligence had tracked Naomi's rebel cell to a hidden base among the massive gnarled trees that covered the moon's surface. This time, he brought only a small team of elite operative speed and precision would succeed where brute force had failed. The jungle air was thick with moisture as Theron led his team through the underbrush. Strange bioluminescent plants cast an eerie blue glow across their path. His targeting system identified fresh tracks. She knows we're here, he murmured. Spread out, pattern delta. They had barely moved 10 meters when the first explosive device detonated, followed by a barrage of precision fire from the canopy above. 3 of his soldiers fell immediately. Ambush, shouted Kaz, returning fire into the trees. Theron activated his energy shield and charged forward, spotting a flash of movement ahead. For 20 minutes, they played a deadly game of cat and mouse through the jungle. His team was being picked off one by one, but he was getting closer to his quarry. When he finally cornered her at the edge of a sulfur spring, they were both alone. We have to stop meeting like this, Naomi said, her vibroblade gleaming with the same blue light as the pools behind her. She was injured, a graze across her shoulder seeping blood, but her stance showed no weakness. Your rebellion is futile, Theron replied, circling her slowly. The Empire has stood for 1,000 years. What do you hope to accomplish? Freedom isn't futile, she countered, matching his movements. And the Empire hasn't faced someone who knows its weaknesses from the inside. Their weapons clashed again, energy against vibrating metal in a dance more intricate than their first encounter. Theron found himself counting her heartbeats, anticipating her moves with growing familiarity. This time, he noticed things he'd missed before. The slight hesitation before she struck with her left side, the way her eyes telegraphed. Her next attack, yet she too seemed to read him, evading blows that should have connected. When his black blade finally sliced across her thigh, she retaliated with a move that shattered his helmet, exposing his face to her for the first time. Their eyes met, and Theron saw not hatred, but determination, curiosity. The Empire taught. Me, there's nothing human worth respecting, he said, breath heavy. What drives you to fight so hard? The same thing that makes you serve so loyally, she answered. Belief. A distant explosion rocked the ground her backup arriving. Theron could have pressed his advantage while she was wounded, but instead he hesitated. We'll meet again, he said. I'm counting on it, she replied, before disappearing into the jungle. That night, as his ship departed the moon, Theron found himself replaying their conversation. For the first time in his decorated career, he hadn't given his all to capture an enemy of the Empire. The realization disturbed him more than any battlefield wound ever had. He didn't report this detail to his superiors. And when he dreamed that night, it was of amber eyes that challenged everything he thought he knew. Forbidden's understanding, the asteroid belt of the Rigel system, was notorious for electromagnetic disturbances that could cripple even the most advanced ships. It was precisely this danger that made it the perfect location for the rebel meeting that Theron's intelligence network had uncovered. What neither Theron nor Naomi had anticipated was the solar flare that would strand them both. Theron's small stealth craft drifted powerless between two massive asteroids, its systems failing one by one. In the pilot's seat, he removed his gauntlets and worked furiously to reroute emergency power to life support. The mission had been classified a solo operation to infiltrate and observe the rebel leadership gathering. No backup would come. Proximity alert, one of the few systems still functioning, blinked on his console. Another ship, equally disabled, was drifting toward his position. The scanner identified a single life form aboard, but he knew who it was before the ships collided. With a sickening crunch of metal against metal, the impact threw him forward against the controls. When he regained his senses, he found the ships had become fused together, his sleek Imperial vessel now uncomfortably conjoined with a battered rebel transport. The airlock between them hissed open. Naomi Blackwell stood in the doorway, a thermal blanket wrapped around her shoulders and a blaster held loosely at her side. "Your life support is failing faster than mine," she said matter-of-factly. "We have about 40 hours before rescue teams can reach this sector. We can either share resources and both survive, or stick to our respective sides and both die." Theron's hand moved to his energy blade, but didn't activate it. "How do I know this isn't a trap? Because I'd have shot you already." She gestured to her ship. "I have heat and emergency rations. You have functioning communication equipment. Seems like a fair trade." Logic overruled suspicion. With a curt nod, Theron followed her through the airlock. The rebel ship was utilitarian, but surprisingly well-maintained. Various scavenged technologies had been ingeniously repurposed. On a small table lay scattered data pads, the intel she'd been collecting before the solar flare. "Don't bother," she said, noticing his gaze. "I wiped them when my system started." Failing, they worked in tense silence, combining their resources to maximize survival chances. Hours passed. The temperature dropped. They huddled near the ship's auxiliary heat generator, the emergency lights casting long shadows across the cabin. "Why did you leave the Empire?" Theron finally asked. The question had haunted him since learning her history. Naomi studied him for a long moment. "I was developing agricultural terraforming systems to help worlds recover from natural disasters. When I discovered my work was being weaponized to subjugate populations through engineered famines, ... double quotes, she shrugged. "Some lines can't be uncrossed once you see them." "The Empire brings order," Theron countered, but the words sounded hollow even to his own ears. "Order at what cost?" She pulled out a small holoprojector and activated it. Images appeared. Devastated worlds, civilian casualties, labor camps. "This is what your order looks like from the other side." Theron wanted to dismiss the evidence as rebel propaganda, but recognized locations where he himself had carried out missions. Places where he'd followed orders without question. "We're not so different," he said quietly. "We both believe we're serving a greater purpose. The difference is I've seen both sides." Her voice softened. "Have you ever questioned what you're fighting for, Theron?" No one in the Empire addressed him by his first name. It created an unexpected intimacy that caught him off guard. "Questioning leads to chaos," he replied, but doubt had taken root. As the hours passed, their conversation deepened. They spoke of childhood's hers on a frontier world, his in the rigid hierarchies of Solarian nobility. They debated philosophy, governance, freedom. They shared combat stories, professional assessments of each other's techniques. "You favor your right side too much," she noted. "That's how I landed that strike on Talaris." "And you telegraph your overhead attacks," he countered. "Your eyes always look up first." She laughed, a sound he found surprisingly pleasant. "I'll work on that before our next dance." By the 30th hour, exhaustion and cold had driven them closer together under shared thermal blankets. "Theron, found himself studying the scar along her jaw. "Imperial interrogator," she explained, catching his gaze. "Before you ask, no, they didn't get anything from me." Without thinking, he traced the line with his finger. "I'm sorry. For what?" "You?" "For all of it. For all of it." The words surprised him as much as her dot in the dim emergency lighting. With the stars visible through the viewport and death still a possibility, honesty seemed the only sensible option. When Naomi leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, Theron didn't pull away. It was gentle at first, and hungry, a different kind of battle than they were accustomed to fighting. When they separated, breathless, reality crashed back around them. "This changes nothing," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "It changes everything," she replied. "You just haven't admitted it yet." When the rescue ships arrived, Imperial vessels responding to his distress beacon, Theron made a decision that would alter the course of his life. He reported that Naomi Blackwell had died in the collision. Instead, he watched from his view screen as her ship drifted away into the asteroid. Field, cloaking device engaged, carrying with it a piece of himself he hadn't known was missing. Crossroads of fate, the grand plaza of New Olympus teemed with Imperial citizens gathered for the Victory Day celebrations. Massive holographic displays showed Emperor Darius' speech from the Imperial Palace, while formations of Solarian troops marched in perfect synchronicity. Theron stood on the governor's balcony, watching the proceedings with an expression carefully crafted to reveal nothing. Inside, he was in turmoil. 6 weeks had passed since the asteroid belt. 6 weeks of sleepless nights and fractured loyalties. 6 weeks of secretly accessing classified files that confirmed everything Naomi had shown him. An impressive display, wouldn't you say, Knight Commander? Governor Helios appeared beside him, a crystal flute of expensive Centaurian wine in his manicured hand. "Indeed," Theron replied automatically. "And soon to be made more impressive by your special contribution." The governor smiled thinly. "The capture of the notorious Phantom will be the highlight of the Emperor's visit next week." Theron's blood ran cold. "The Emperor is coming here? Didn't High Command inform you? Your pursuit ends tomorrow. We've received intelligence on the rebels' exact location." He handed Theron a dataship. "A traitor in their ranks has been most helpful. You'll lead the strike team at dawn." The coordinates led to an abandoned mining outpost on New Olympus's smallest moon. As Theron's shuttle approached under cover of darkness, he found himself hoping the intelligence was wrong, that she wouldn't be there, but she was. The rebel camp was exactly where the informant had said it would be. Through his targeting scope, Theron could see Naomi directing operations, unaware of the Imperial forces surrounding them. "Teen Epsilon in position," came the report through his comm. "Teen Omega ready, awaiting your command to engage, sir." Theron hesitated, his finger hovering over the signal button that would launch the attack. In that moment of indecision, he caught sight of movement in the shadows near the rebel camp, more Imperial troops than should have been present, wearing the distinctive armor of the Emperor's personal guard. This wasn't just a capture mission. It was an ambush, with him as an unwitting pawn. "Hold positions," he ordered, then switched to a secure channel. "Kaz, something's wrong. There are Imperial death squads in position that weren't part of our briefing." His second-in-command's voice came back tense. "Sir, I've just received updated orders directly from High Command. We're to take no prisoners. The entire camp is to be eliminated." "What? That wasn't the mission." "We're supposed to capture the rebel leader for public trial." "The orders changed, sir. The Emperor wants this handled quietly." Theron made his decision in an instant. "Kaz, remember Elysium 4? There was a pause. "The mission where you saved my life?" "Yes, sir." "I'm calling in that debt. Delay the attack order for 10 minutes, then report equipment malfunction." Without waiting for a response, Theron disabled his locator beacon and moved swiftly through the shadows toward the rebel camp. He took down 2 Imperial Death Squad members silently before reaching the perimeter. A rebel sentry spotted him, raising her weapon. "Halt! I need to speak with Naomi Blackwell," Theron said, removing his helmet. "Now all your lives depend on it." The sentry's eyes widened in recognition. Yes, and in approximately 8 minutes, this entire area will be swarming with Imperial kill teams. So I suggest you move quickly." He was brought to a command tent at gunpoint. Naomi looked up from a tactical display, her shock quickly masked by suspicion. "Either you're very brave or very stupid," she said. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't kill you where you stand." "Because the Empire knows you're here. All of you. And they're not interested in taking prisoners." She studied his face, searching for deception. "Why warn us? Why betray your oath?" "Because some oaths matter more than others," he replied. "The Empire lied to me. About everything. About what we're fighting for. About you." The distant sound of Imperial dropships broke the moment. "We're out of time," Theron said urgently. "Your escape routes are already compromised." Naomi sprang into action, barking orders to her lieutenants. "Evacuation protocol, Zeta. Move." As the rebels scrambled to evacuate, she turned back to Theron. "Why should I trust you?" In answer, he unclipped his energy blades and offered them to her, handles first. "Because I'm coming with you, if you'll have me." Before she could respond, the first explosions hit the outer perimeter. Theron's come crackled to life with the voice of Governor Helios. "Knight Commander Voss, the rebel leader is to be captured alive. The Emperor wants her execution to be the centerpiece of tomorrow's celebration." Naomi's eyes met his. In that moment, their understanding was complete. "I know a way out they won't expect," Theron said, taking back his weapons. "But we need to. Move now." Together they raced through the chaos of the besieged camp, fighting side by side against Imperial forces. Where once they had been matched adversaries, they now moved in perfect complementary rhythm. His energy blades cleared paths that her precision shooting secured. They reached a maintenance tunnel as the main rebel force escaped through the emergency transports. Kaz's voice came through Theron's come one last time. "Sir, they're tracking you, whatever you're doing. I can buy you 5 minutes before I have to report your position." "Thank you, old friend," Theron replied. As they emerged on the far side of the outpost near a small, unmarked shuttle, Naomi paused. "You understand what this means? There's no going back." Theron looked up at the Imperial ships darkening the sky, then back to her, the woman who had shown him truth. The enemy who had become something else entirely. "I made my choice the moment I saw you in that camp," he said. "The Empire will hunt us across the galaxy. Then we'll have to be smarter than them," she replied, a spark of determination in her amber eyes. "Together." As the shuttle broke atmosphere, leaving behind the Imperial forces and everything he had once believed in, Theron felt not regret, but liberation. For the first time in his life, he was fighting for something he truly believed in, and someone worth fighting beside. Against the stars, the planet Akiris hung like a forgotten jewel at the edge of the outer rim, its purple oceans and crimson forests untouched by Imperial influence. For 3 months, it had been their sanctuary, a temporary home for 2 of the most wanted fugitives in the galaxy. Naomi stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the alien sea, watching twin moons rise above the horizon. Behind her, their modest shelter little more than a modified cargo container hummed with the communication equipment they'd salvaged. Theron emerged from the shelter, his once pristine Imperial armor now modified and repainted in neutral colors. The encrypted transmission finally came through. "Your rebel friends received the data we sent about the Imperial fleet movements." "And," she asked, not turning from the view. They're mobilizing. The coordinated strikes will begin in 3 days. He moved beside her, his shoulder almost touching hers. Your plan is working, Naomi. Since their escape from New Olympus, they had established a network of informants within the Empire disaffected officers and officials who had also begun to question the regime they served. Each piece of intelligence they transmitted to the rebellion weakened the imperial structure from within. It was our plan, she corrected him, finally meeting his gaze. The past months had changed them both. The rigid imperial knight was gone, replaced by a man who thought for himself. And she had found something she'd never expected: trust. Their relationship had evolved in the quiet moments between missions tentative at first, then with growing certainty. Enemies to reluctant allies to something deeper, neither had words. For yet, the bounty on your head increased again, she noted with grim humor. 12 million credits now. I'm almost insulted mine is only 10. The price of betrayal always exceeds the price of defiance, he replied, a hint of his old formality returning. The Emperor takes perceived disloyalty very personally. Their moment of peace was shattered by the shelter's alarm system. Proximity. Sensors triggered. Warning of approaching aircraft. Imperial signatures. Theron confirmed, checking the scanner. Stealth dropships. How did they find us? Naomi was already moving, gathering essential equipment. It doesn't matter. We need to move, now. They had prepared for this eventuality multiple escape routes, emergency supplies cached throughout the area. But as they reached the hidden hangar where their ship waited, the first Imperial troops were already deploying. Knight Commander Voss, called a familiar voice that made Theron freeze. Or is it just traitor now? From the lead dropship emerged Admiral Octavia Voss, Theron's older sister, her imperial regalia immaculate, her silver eyes cold as the void. Octavia, Theron acknowledged, positioning himself slightly in front of Naomi. I should have known they'd send you. The Emperor gave me the honor personally. Octavia's smile didn't reach her eyes. Return to the Empire now. Renounce this rebel filth, and perhaps you can die with dignity rather than as a traitor. The only ones betraying Solarian ideals are those who serve a tyrant blindly, Theron replied. You've seen the same reports I have. Civilian massacres. Engineered famines. Is that the Empire you swore to serve? For a moment, something flickered across Octavia's face doubt, perhaps before hardening again. Last chance, little brother. Her life for yours. Not happening, Naomi said, stepping forward. And we're not going back. The firefight erupted without further warning. Theron and Naomi fought back to back, his energy blades deflecting blaster fire while she picked off Imperial troops with precision shots. They moved together with the synchronicity of two people who had learned each other's rhythms perfectly, but they were outnumbered 20-1. The ship, Naomi shouted as they carved a path toward their vessel. If we can reach it. A stray blaster bolt caught her in the side. She stumbled, and Theron felt rather than saw her fall. Naomi. Time seemed to slow as he cut down the soldiers. Between them, gathering her into his arms. Blood seeped through her jacket. I'm fine, she insisted, though her face had gone pale. It's just a graze. It wasn't. They both knew it. Octavia's voice rang out again. Surrender now, Theron. Your rebel is dying anyway. With Naomi injured, their chances of reaching the ship had dwindled to almost nothing. Theron made a swift calculation, eyes darting between the approaching Imperial forces and a narrow ravine to their left. Do you trust me? He whispered to Naomi. Despite the pain, she smiled. Always. In one fluid motion, Theron activated both energy blades and hurled them at a cliff face above the Imperial troops. The resulting rockslide bought them precious seconds as he lifted Naomi and ran not toward their ship, but toward the ravine. "What are you doing?" she gasped. "Something stupid," he admitted, leaping into the narrow crevasse. They slid down a natural stone shaft, emerging in a hidden cavern where an unexpected sight awaited them. A small shuttle bearing the insignia of House Voss. "You knew," Naomi realized. "You knew your sister would come." "I suspected." Theron carried her aboard, laying her gently on a medical cot before rushing to the controls. Family is nothing if not predictable. The shuttle, designed for a noble's quick escapes, slipped through a subterranean river channel as Imperial. Forces converged on their decoy ship above. By the time Octavia realized the deception, they were breaking atmosphere dot in the shuttle's small medical bay. Theron worked frantically to stabilize Naomi's wound. "Stay with me," he murmured. "We're not finished yet." Her hand caught his, surprisingly strong. "We need to warn the rebels." "If the Empire found us, already done," he assured her, showing her a datapad with confirmation of a transmitted warning. "The attack plans are being adjusted." As the shuttle entered hyperspace, Naomi's breathing steadied. The advanced medical equipment, another advantage of Imperial design, had done its work. "Where are we going?" she asked, sitting up carefully. Theron sat beside her, taking her hand again. "There's a place at the edge of the Umbra Nebula, a settlement of refugees and deserters from a dozen worlds. No Imperial presence, no rebel oversight either." He hesitated. "We could disappear there. Or we could keep fighting," she finished. "Keep building our network. Keep weakening the Empire from within." The hyperspace corridor outside the viewport bathed them in ethereal blue light. For a moment, they simply existed together in the quiet. "When I first came after you," Theron said softly, "I thought I was serving justice. I never imagined you would show me what justice truly means." Naomi leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. "And I never imagined my greatest enemy would become my greatest ally." She smiled. "And more. The rebellion will succeed," he said with sudden certainty. "Not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but eventually. And when it does, when the Emperor falls and the Solarian worlds are free to determine their own futures." "What? Then for us?" "Then," she said, "we find a world where no one knows our names. Where Knight Commander Voss and the Phantom are just stories told in history lessons." Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. "And we start again." He kissed her then, no longer the desperate kiss of fugitives expecting to die, but the kiss of two people who had found, against all odds, a future worth fighting for. Their shuttle raced toward the edge of charted space, two former enemies, united against an empire. Behind them lay the wreckage of old loyalties and identities. Ahead, uncertainty, but also hope. And in that moment, between the stars, it was enough.